どうした ?What's up with your なんか、morning だから。You sounds like you're sleepy.
Really? I'm not sleepy now.
本当
Introduce about Global Youth Ambassador. So our Japanese member are all member of the Global Youth Ambassador. So this project purpose is 30 Japanese secondary and high school students sent to another country to learn about SDGs. Then we learn about SDGs and bring back to Japan and spread in Japan about SDGs. So at our year, we went to Sweden and Switzerland. At Switzerland, we went to WHO, ILO, UNHCR, and we went to UN, United Nations, and we presented about SDGs goals out there. And also we went Sweden. In Sweden, we learned about environment initiatives. Sorry, I have a script. Environmental initiative in the cities. Then we learn about Sweden and Switzerland. We bring it to Japan and spread about what we did and what we're gonna do. So what we want to do in some workshop and presentation in Japan. So maybe that's it. It is about Global Youth Ambassadors.
Dyson かな You're going to explain about HYCC, I guess.
So HYCC, we're a nonprofit organization that is completely led by youth and also founded by youth. And our goal is to take on climate change through education and activism. And we do this through a variety of means, but kind of the three biggest things that we do is one, we do climate strikes, which are sort of the global events that have been happening where tons of youth and adults get together and, you know, either are holding signs, march in front of the Capitol to demand that the government take action on climate change. That's been harder to do nowadays because of COVID, but that's what our big trademark was. The second thing we do is more educational and outreach events. So things like colloquiums or conferences where people can just get an idea of what climate change is and figure out a little more of the kind of solutions around it. And then finally, we do advocacy and activism. So we try to pass legislation and to make actionable change happen in the community. So that way there's real tangible solutions that the community can be engaged and involved with. And so we do this through different teams. Lucy's a part of the advocacy team, which deals with all the policy. Solana is a part of communications, which is more like the social media side of it. We also have an outreach team and a logistics team. And so put together, that creates HYCC, or the Hawaii Youth Climate Coalition.
So it's a big, なんつったらいいんだ? でかいね.
Community organization, yes, it's very big though.
How many members
In
do
Japan.
we have, Dyson?
That is a good question. That's something that Kamika knows. I'm not really. I think we have, well, I know we have a reach of 400 people.
Really?
The core team itself is comprised of 40 members, 15 to 20 of which are highly active. The rest are on and off. So I think that's about the reach of the team.
That's larger than my high school students in all grades. And I'm like, what? I can't imagine 400 youth members. I'm like, whatever, that's my problem. Do we need to have a brief introduction?
Yeah, maybe we have to. So Kato is the first time here, so.
Yeah.
Kato.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
で、加藤から始める?
Hi, hello. Yes, I'm really nervous because I'm a bit for English. My name is Hina, and I am a chocoholic. Do you know chocoholic?
She's so
Yeah.
addicted to it, but you really love chocolate.
Yeah. I really love chocolate, and I have a love of it since I was a child, and now I'm research for the fair trade chocolate. The fair trade is a trade system that aims to improve lives of cacao workers and producers in developing countries, support their independence. I held an event for the fair trade, selling the fair trade, and なんだろう something like that. Nice to meet you.
We should call you Hina, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Taizan is the only one who calls her as by her last name. I guess Hina would be better. I don't know. Which would you prefer?
Hina.
Okay. Okay. Taizan, 先どうぞ。
あ、僕ですか ?OK。先どうぞ。
Okay, so like I introduced before, my name is Sen. I'm only one who's living in Gunma because the other two members are living in Kanagawa, I guess, right?
そうか、群馬か。
Yes.
It's so far.
It's so far. 本当に far. But so like I'm more, maybe Taizan is focused on ocean and sea related climate action kind of thingy, but I am now like working on really basic, なんていうのかな, for example, なんかまとまんないね話が。まあいいや。じゃあ like,
It's okay.
It's okay. Well, due to COVID, I'm now unable to have some action as a UN Youth Ambassador. So I'm now working at school and like local community-based kind of action. And now, なんだろう, we have a problem that the papers are really wasted at my school, so we're now recycling とか really basic kind of things, but かな、my recent work はそんな感じ。Sorry.
So amazing.
No. Broken introduction だからTaizan締めてください。
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, my earphone is a little bit bad.
That's okay.
So my name is Taizan. I'm a student. Then I'm full in love with ocean. So I do diving, but I'm just a beginner. Dyson, do you do diving? Oh, really?
Wow.
So I really love ocean, and I work with plastic pollution. Then, so I'm living in Chigasaki, so as a sister city as a Honolulu, as Dyson. So there is a Yuzo Street in Chigasaki, and I'm working SDGs activity at these shops, something like bread shop, fish shop at the street. Then we do plastic, なるべく reduce plastic. Yeah, at the street. Yeah, my recent work is something like that. So let's switch the introduce part.
Dyson or Lucy, do you want to go first or? Okay, I can go, I guess. So hi everyone, my name is Solana and I'm 15 years old, and I'm really passionate about the fast fashion industry and it's stopping its negative effects on the people that produce the clothes, and the environmental effects of fast fashion as well. And so fast fashion's like, just to give a brief explanation of it, it's a term used to describe clothes that are produced very quickly and very inexpensively in order to meet the demands of the trends that are constantly being produced by the fashion industry, but it's done at the expense of, the workers, and also the environment, not just the environment that surrounds like the factories, but because the fashion industry is so complex, it really affects like the entire world. So yeah, Dyson or Lucy.
Fine, I'll go. So hi, I'm Lucy. I'm 16 years old. I live on Oahu, but I'm currently in California with family. I guess my passion would probably be advocacy and just education behind climate change, because I feel like that's the first step in making change, is educating people and having them understand. And I guess policy and getting people to push for those changes that they want to see kind of helps go to the top and like cut down corporation use, because I think we kind of need to work for people to change their own individual actions, but we also need to hold those big businesses accountable. I think that's really important. Yeah.
Hi everyone. My name is Dyson. I'm probably the oldest here. I'm 18 years old, so I'm really old. But I'm also part of Hawaii Youth Climate Coalition. And I guess my story kind of similar to Taizan in that it just starts with really loving the ocean and seeing all the plastics on the beach and realizing that there was a problem. But since then, it's expanded from plastic pollution to climate change as a bigger issue. And also looking at a lot of the intersectionalities between climate change and other issues. So, how does climate impact the cost of living, which is really high on Oahu? How does it impact youth rights and lowering the voting age? These issues, as they get worse and worse, we as a youth are the ones who have to carry the burdens of that. So, how does that intersect with youth issues? And so just looking at these intersections is kind of like what's really got me interested now. So yeah.
Okay. So we finished introducing, so what we're gonna talk about? Maybe we didn't have any purpose of this group, isn't it? So we want to 決めたいなんていうの
We
Decide.
want to
Yeah,
decide.
decide. We want to decide what we're gonna do for the future. So is it okay?
Yes.
Okay.
So how do we discuss? Do we just talk in Jinban?
Like there are some sample questions, but if there's
Yeah.
anything that you guys thought during this time, since September, maybe you guys can share your ideas at first, and maybe as it moves on, it will eventually become a discussion. So which would you guys
I think
prefer?
we
Yes.
all have very different interests, but it's all for the goal of creating a better world. So I'm not I think that it'd be cool if we could continue sharing on maybe a monthly or like bi-monthly basis of what we're doing in our communities, or if anyone else has any ideas.
Yes, that's good. So would you like to start, Solana, or?
Oh, well, like what we should do?
どうしたらいいかな?
Well, my dream would be that maybe we could have I really like, magazines and stuff, or like websites. And so, if we could just have something that's both in English and Japanese, and just share what we're doing maybe. So both people, like youth from both countries or cities can access the information that we're talking about right now, and recruit members as we go along, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's right. So we connect each other's information.
Yeah, just have like a collective information, not database, but just a resource. But also, not just facts, but we could have sort of like opinion pieces, just a place to share.
Maybe it's good. So any other people have an idea of this purpose?
Yeah.
Maybe we can, because Solana, you were saying like platforms on where we could publish this, unless we're like, oh, let's start our own magazine, which I mean, like we can try that. But like, what if we also work with the magazines and organizations, groups that are going to be mentioning this on their platforms, and ask them if they can share this every time we have one of these meetings or gatherings.
Yeah, that'd be great. Because obviously it's a lot easier to just have us be mentioned than create something from scratch.
I like the idea of sharing because I think that allows us to see what other people are doing, and that can help us see what changes we want to make in our own community. Like, I'm sure you guys are doing some things that we can implement in Hawaii, and I'm sure maybe we've done some stuff that maybe you guys could take, and I feel like that's some really good mutual learning.
Okay, so we just held as a platform for the connected of other countries.
I'd like.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. I'd like to share, or I'd like to discuss what we can do and what should we do to helping people in the corona situation, because we can active なんだ去年に比べて
compared with the last
yeah and what do you think and what should we do in the corona situation? I want to discuss that. これなんでいいのかな?
I guess it's okay because it's a current big problem, and like I guess it's a good topic. Before that, I want to ask you what kind of occasion is Hawaii in related with COVID, because Japan is so panicked with their own situation, and like I'm unable to know what other countries or places are going on with, so if you guys were able to explain, it might be better. どうだろう、
Hawaii's current situation.
Well, right now, we're having a little less than 100 people per day, which is a lot less than like a couple weeks ago when we were having like 200, 300 cases per day, which is a lot compared to the population of Hawaii, or in relative to the population of Hawaii. But the state, like our economy relies heavily on tourism, because like that's basically all we have here. That's like the only industry we have here. And so we've let tourists from the mainland, which is the big America, the continental America, come to Hawaii without quarantining, so without staying in their hotel rooms for 14 days, if they test positive, or if they don't test positive, sorry, which is quite controversial because, you know, just because you don't test positive once, you could catch it on the plane and then bring it here. And I think, you know, the tourism industry isn't very sustainable. We have to like rely on somebody else to bring the money in. And so I think that a lot of people have been trying to like reform tourism, but the government just wants to say, nope, let's go back to tourism. I'm sure Dyson or Lucy could probably explain it better, but that's my best effort.
Summed it up pretty well, Solana. That's about, in a nutshell, that's what's going on here in Hawaii. We have other like industries, but they're just not as big as tourism. Like tourism brings, I don't remember the exact figure, but it brings in easily billions of dollars for Hawaii. And so, right, if we don't have it, that's billions of dollars. We would have to figure out something else in order to either make up for that, or we have to cut back on things. We do have the military here, which people aren't exactly too hot on the military here either, because they also don't have to follow the quarantining restrictions. And we also have construction, and that's been doing fine, I think. But ultimately, to make up for the shortfall in tourism, lawmakers have been having a really hard time because on the one hand, if we try to go away from tourism, we have all of these businesses that depend almost exclusively on tourism, like Waikiki. That entire area is like tourist land. And so like if we were to cut back on tourism, they're gonna lose a lot of revenue. And so we're trying to figure out a way to still have people coming in Hawaii, but instead of having 10 million people coming in every year, we have less people, but each person spends more money. And that way we don't need as many people. And then while we're doing that, try to diversify our economy to include either technology or agriculture or whatever else it may be that's more sustainable. So it's a really interesting situation here.
Yeah, in Japan, we also have a policy called Go to Travel, which 促進する。
なんか they ね make なんか suggest us to go outside, travel, spend money, but very interesting.
Hotels are
Service.
priced, and when you go to it, it's lower cost, so make them more.
Yeah, the promotion.
そうだね。
Many people are using Go to Travel of it.
Really? Is it working? You know, sorry, なんかちょっとI'm Japanese なのに全然 OK じゃん。Yes? Yes? Yes? What? What?
周りにはそういう人があまりいない感じ。
Oh, really? I use it.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it good? 待って That's a very weird question, but なんか
And I went to Tokyo last month, and the government support the なんだ費用
the payment?
Yeah, and it's really good system, but I'm really nervous because the Tokyo is many people,
So yeah.
and yeah, I'm afraid of the corona.
One of the dangerous places in Japan.
Yeah.
So is this go-to travel like exclusively for Corona time?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Like we've never had this kind of service before, and yes, my school used to plan a school trip to Kyoto and not my grade, but lower grade. But yeah, they plan to use Go to travel, but still, it's dangerous. So all the school trip was canceled, and it was planned to go to America for my grade, and that's the only thing we have for this grade. And like, well, no, めっちゃショックだったっていう like my personal problem. ちょっとショックだった。So traveling, tourism is very interesting platform of earning money. だから、そっか。なんだろう。
So what can we do for it? So tourism of Corona. So in the local
or online.
Online?
Yeah, we kind of have to resort to online. But I think the really cool thing with online is like we're doing now, you can go to meetings, you know, with people all over the world, which is something that like if you were having actual events, you know, I wouldn't be able to go to something that Japanese students are hosting in Japan or vice versa. So I think that's one of the silver linings of COVID is that I've been able to access a lot more like global meetings. And so I think that even if the Corona era ends, hopefully it will soon, who knows, but we can still have this online meeting and people like you know, organizations and stuff still continue to do online meetings because that's been very interesting to join.
That's a good point. And that's really interesting too, because a lot of times, I don't know if this is something everyone else might have noticed, but a lot of times these events, which are in person and have like a global or national audience, well, one, you obviously have to travel there in order to go to the event. But two, because you have to travel, usually the only people who can make it are the people who have the time to do it and the money to do it. And usually us people who are in high school and might not even be working, right? We don't have the time or the money to be able to go out to these events all the time unless someone pays it for us. And so I think what's helped with online is that it's allowed people who don't have these resources of time or money to be able to also attend these events. And it's kind of helped to make things a little more equal. But then, you know, there's the problem of people who don't have good internet connection and, you know, then we have a problem. But I think it's changed. It's changed the imbalance a bit.
It's a really good point. I never really thought about the equity of it, but you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Another thing with that too is that can make these global connections a lot more sustainable, because if you're saying you're having a global conference and people have to fly from all over the world, that's not good for the environment. People have to, you know, first the plane emissions and the emissions of like the hotel and travel and all of that. So I feel like this enables us to also be more sustainable.
Yeah, you're right. So I was thinking like, you know, speaking of like the like global, you know, having a bunch of people or having people from all over the world, is that something that we would want to achieve like as a group? You know, would we want people from more countries to join our meetings? I mean, I don't know how feasible that is, but, you know, something to think about. Of course, you know, we should start off small, but as we, you know, grow, I don't know.
That would be very interesting, I guess. And I was talking with Miss Atsuko. Sorry, I don't know her name. Yes, Miss Atsuko Nagasawa, and like as a Japanese student, ていうか in my occasion, I've already seen the places or countries which works more harder for the like environmental issues or climate issues. So Hawaii is already advanced compared with Japan, and Sweden, yes, Switzerland, yes. So like for us, it might be interesting if we're able to have a discussion with countries, a student in country who have the same occasion with us. So we know that we need to work on to the issues, but like we're now unable to take that one step, and like because of the COVID, people's attention that was going on, the climate or the social issues are now more to the global pandemic, and that might make us to think people far away more closer, because people are having same problem as a global issue, but because of that there is a gain and lose of attention and all of those things. Do you get what I mean? Sorry. I lost my mind during when I was talking.
A little bit.
Yes. Okay. Well, yes. そんな感じ. Sorry, my brain is not working because it's morning. ちょっと I need to work on it. だなって思った.
It's 9 o'clock on a Sunday. Don't worry about it.
Thank you.
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Man, the closer to 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I used to sleep this time every.
Really?
Yes. ちょっとね. Yes. It's okay.
頭が働かない。いや、十分働いてるよ。
No. well, かな。
今どこまで進んだ？
Like,
Yeah.
なんか would you like to expand or なんかコミュニティみたいな話だったよね. Yes. I guess that's interesting. Yeah, what I want to say is that I guess it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
なんかハワイと日本でできることないかなって思って、いやわかんないよ。その金丸くんにもよるよ。泰山くんにもよるよ。
はい。
Yes.
なんかできないかなって思ってて。
I'll work together with collaborating and do some more action ってこと?
Yeah.
That's very
and the corona situation, I make a sticker
Oh yeah.
to donate 売り上げ profit to donate a profit for the hospital or hospital and well can
Yes. Go ahead.
そうなんだろうなんかハワイのもの生かしたなんか作れないかなって思って。
だから a Hawaiian product materials collaborating with Japan and doing something ってことだよね。
そう。Sorry. 何
No, that's okay. That's okay. Hair dryer. That's that's okay. It's very important. Yeah. Yes, it's a very important issue for his mother. That's okay. なんだろ
形にしたいってこと？
なんか you want to make
そう
something together みたいなことだよね。
そういえばなんかハワイっぽいなんかなんか
なんか Hawaii has its brand already じゃん。なんかbrand as a なんか Hawaiian っていうの
yeah
Hawaiian brand and Japan also have なんか Japan-ish brand っていうの
can we that corroborate
なんか it depends on how we right so,
yeah
so like it might be hard for us to collaborate pineapple together with kimono but it might be how we collaborate だよね。So I don't know what's famous っていうか in Hawaii なんか what's their
and
strength material っていうかなんか product
Well, I think where you're like, so, if you like the Hawaiian brand, the trademark pineapple and like floral, like it's very popular in Japan, right? I mean, like people will like spend a lot of money, and I think that the government actually set up this like website for like small businesses, independent businesses that are suffering because of the lack of tourism right now. So like people from all over the world can buy like Hawaiian products, like Hawaiian pattern face masks or stuff like that, soaps and whatnot. But not just like COVID related products, but all types of products. So I think, maybe if you wanted to import Hawaiian goods for the support, like I'm not really sure, like does the profit like get donated to something? I wasn't quite clear on that part, but that's an idea if you contacted them, like maybe the independent brands, because I know that they're definitely suffering because of the lack of tourism. So
Just a word of caution here, and I know none of this is done like intentionally, but a lot of the stuff that gets branded as Hawaii, like coconuts or pineapples, or I'm trying to think what's another thing that's Hawaii.
flowers
Okay, flowers, yeah, like
hibiscus
plumeria or hibiscus.
Plumeria,
and turtles.
Yeah. So this is like, I guess this is like a quick 101 on cultural sensitivity. But do you realize that those things aren't actually Hawaiian? So pineapples are from Brazil. They're not actually from Hawaii. And so a lot of Hawaiians, like people who are of Hawaiian blood and ancestry, they consider it kind of insulting to some extent, and kind of like a disgrace to their heritage when you point these things out as Hawaiian, because they aren't actually Hawaiian. So if we do this, one of the things that we might want to do is to reach out to a business that's owned by Hawaiians. So that way we know that the actions that we're doing and the things that we're sharing are actually things that represent the Hawaiian people, and not some sort of, tourism industry that's, backed by all Asians or Caucasians and no Hawaiians.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Dyson. I was kind of in the back of my mind, but it's hard to find the, not balance, but to find justice for, especially when you have native Hawaiian, like, like Dyson said. So I'm not really sure if we want to go in like the consumerism direction either, because of course that's not always sustainable.
Yeah, I was feeling that too. I think I got kind of lost on that yeah, I think that was a really good point, Dyson, that I wasn't sure how to tell, but I think that's important. But I did like, Solana, if we did want to do something like that, I liked how you talked about supporting small businesses. I think that was a really strong point, because I think that is something that is really important in Hawaii. It does more than just kind of commodify the culture, is supporting those small businesses and the goods that they are creating to support families. And I've not to take us off the topic, but I'd love to know what you guys think one of Japan's strengths is in sustainability. Like, what do you guys think that you do well that maybe we don't do here in the US?
That's a tough question. Is it our prejudice that Japan is not good at sustainability, or if we do we really have one? Like, I don't
know what the purpose of this is, but you guys like always separate your trash into like very specific, you know,
that's
categories. Like, I'm not sure how that works, like how that system works.
It just looks like they're separating, but I guess they're just dumping and like burning, and that's it. So it looks like they're separating, but it really depends on places. So there are some places that is really strict on those rules, but some places people don't really mind, and that's the problem. So as a country, there is no specific like rule for the trashes. So for example, なんだろう、I don't know, but for example, this one, I don't know what this is, but well,
it's a tissue.
Yeah, I guess it's a tissue kind of case or something, but I guess it's a plastic, but I don't know, because it's this big. I guess it depends for people to throw this as a plastic product or something other than plastic. So like something that is unburnable, but something that is not a plastic. And it depends on the places where you live. So like, now I'm looking for the problem, John. It's not a strength, but yes, they're not good at separating. They used to be, but they aren't.
It is also spreading in many ways, but plastic is a little bit, some people is dumped in with dirty plastic, like oily plastic. A government have to clean up the plastic, but we can't money to spend on, so just we have some people does ちゃんとやるっていう、なんて言ったらいいかな。separate the garbage correctly, the plastic in the plastic place, but some people doesn't, so there's a dirty plastic in a plastic position, so other clean plastic will be dirty, then so we can clean, so we are separating, but we're gonna burn it. So I think it is a problem. Yeah, in Chigasaki, we just burn the plastic. We collect the plastic, but we finally, same as the other garbage, we just burn it.
I guess it's same in Gunma too. Like,
maybe have
the city mayors aren't really focused on climate issues in my city. He's a very old man. And, like, because of that, his thing. I actually talked with him, and like I asked him about it, but he said like garbage is something that we burn. What's the problem? Wow. like that's not the occasion, right? That's not the situation. But like he's so old, so like I'm now waiting for the next city mayor to be. But there's so many like a 50 years older mayor, like, candidates, and like because of that, the situation doesn't change. And so now we're working at school to first replace all of the things. But that, because it's even worse at school, like people put every garbage in one garbage can. So PET bottles, tissues, papers, plastic bags, and all those stuff. So, yeah, yes.
That is very, very normal in America. Almost no one separates their trash at all.
Really?
Even if people do recycle, nothing gets recycled. Yeah.
I think looking at, Japan from an outside perspective, you guys are very cautious about your food waste. I don't know about like industry food waste, from restaurants and stuff, but I think as individuals and like as a culture, you guys don't waste a ton of food. Whereas in America, like, I think a lot of individuals like, here's leftovers in the trash, Or like at school, I see a lot of people throwing away like their school lunches. But in Japan, like I went to school in the summers there, and like you have to eat your food, like all of it. And so I think that's something that Japan does pretty well as a like just part of the culture, I guess, being cautious about especially food waste.
So
Yeah, that reminds me of the Japanese cafeteria food is so much better than the American cafeteria food. Our cafeteria food sucks. It's awful. Kyushoku in Japan is like amazing. If Americans could eat lunch like that, we wouldn't be having food waste because they'd actually
yes, and I think we wouldn't be having like obesity issues either, like maybe with some, but a lot less. And I think just from that like Kyushoku culture, like people actually appreciate their food more. You raise people who appreciate food rather than people who are like, unspecified meat products with gray sauce on it.
Gray.
Yeah. I mean, like, even because, like, I don't know how true this is across all schools in Japan, but I remember, like, if there's, like, the leftover, like, there's, like, 2 pieces of bread left, you all would, like, rock, paper, scissors.
Yes.
And, like, in America, it's the total opposite. Like, people are like, do you want my lunch? Like, I don't want to really eat this. And so, like, I think we're working on changing that in Hawaii, but once the pandemic hit, I think that kind of became the last priority for everyone. And so that's kind of like, I don't know, I feel like that's something that we could really aspire to in Hawaii, is just having that mentality around food, because food and green waste makes up about 1/3 of all of the waste, like plastic, metal, like everything, all waste put together. Food and green waste is about 1/3. And that all just gets either burned or some of it gets composted, but that's a very small number.
Yeah, I mean, I read something that was like food waste amounts to like the carbon emissions from it. If it was a country, it would be like after China and America, it'd be like the 3rd country with the most greenhouse gas emissions, which is it was really surprising for me. Amazing.
That was very interesting thing, because we've never thought about it, because I just hate kyushoku. Like I was the one who was creating the waste. So very interesting. Yeah.
I'll eat it. Airdrop it all to me and I'll eat it.
I really wanted to, but yeah, so people ask me to eat it, but I don't like it, but we can't waste it. So like I was always dying at lunchtime, like crying, eating lunch. Like it was bad memory.
I mean, still like going on the food topic, I think Japan eats less meat too overall. I mean, there's issues with like overfishing and stuff, but just meat consumption I think is a lot less because it's expensive in Japan. And you know, fish is just more like available, but then you know you have overfishing and stuff. Ask about the nuclear like water waste that Japan just like is decided that it's gonna dump into the Pacific Ocean. What's going on with that?
原子力発電っていうことだよね。原子力。
そうですね、はい。
もうさ、
Many
you're
Japanese are
Japanese of it.
against about it. And in Japan, it's about 2 nuclear plants had closed of the strikes in front of the nuclear plant. Just the 2, but many governments are still making nuclear plants. なんだっけ？石炭火力発電所？石炭
The carbon.
Coal.
Yeah,
Coal.
using coal to the 環境省でなんで environment
Mr. ほら、I don't get his name. 環境省の人。
government in
小泉さん。
Japan.
Mr.
Yeah, Koizumi. Yeah, Koizumi are trying to make some なんていうの green energy plants.
And yeah, and they stop the making of the coal なんだっけ
That's
coal
とかか。
fired power plant
うん。
like that.
But like I guess he's the only person who's strongly thinking about it in the government. It seems like it. I don't know what it's really going on, but like the president is now なんか視野に入れてる感はあるけど yeah, like the priority can be lower than the other issues. So
But they なんだ they don't なんだすぐに行動しないみたいな they
don't act fastly.
yeah
In Okinawa, because of the nuclear plants, sango coral,
they're dying.
so there are only 10% left in Okinawa. I'm also working for it. Yeah. In Japan, something.
So much problem in Japan.
Like everywhere. There's
Yeah.なんか about the also somebody go ahead なんか
Oh no, go ahead.
No, yeah, so Solana said that there is a problem of overfishing and like plus because of the climate change and stuff, like in Hokkaido, well, not only Hokkaido, but the amount of fish that we want to take is decreasing, but people still overfish it. So like there's like we used to have 4 seasons and like we used to have food that we can eat in winter like and like we eat summer in autumn, but now we can't have those foods and like all the Japanese beautiful culture and stuff, environment, food is now breaking down っていうか I guess it's becoming more broken っていうか I guess we only have winter and summer みたいな感じだよね。だって you guys are wearing あ、そっか。えだよね Like I
And
was so
it's
shocked.
basically summer.
So then I realized that, oh, Hawaii, yes. And like I'm wearing these kind of sleeves and I'm like なんかヒーターとさなんかしてたけどって思って So maybe なんか climate change なんか all the issues are connected together and like going around and around.
Yeah, yesterday it's really cold outside.
Yes, it's
Maybe
really cold as out.
12 degrees.
Mm-hmm. Then on the
Yeah.
next day, it suddenly became 24 degrees and like,
What?
what about the climate? What about the weather? And then,
Is it a climate change?
I guess, I don't know. But all the typhoon stuff was also irregular at like this year, no? なんか It rained a lot, but suddenly all the typhoons didn't come みたいな. And like, stuff was really messy.
The big typhoon.
The natural disaster is also a big problem. So because of the COVID, like people go to the shelter. Like if people have a disaster, they go to a shelter and like spend their time at there. But because there's a lot of people go to one place and like なんかevacuate, like disaster related evacuation issues was very concerned because of the COVID. So なんか it's very hard to it seems like the government was struggling with the issue because the amount of rain is now increasing. There's more earthquake. Yeah. Do you guys
It's
have
really scary. I'm living near
the ocean?
Yeah, beach.
Yeah, beach.
Oh,
Tsunami.
yeah. すぐ死んじゃう。
If you evacuate, you won't die, but the possibility of you dying with tsunami will decrease. But yes, it is still dangerous because Gunma, it doesn't have sea around us.
Guma has many mountains.
Maybe that's all we have. Mountains. Cold wind. あれだよ。
Snow?
Snow? What?
Lightning?
Explosions?
It's like charades.
What?
I think it's like
Lightning.
Lightning.
Lightning っていうか、yes, thunder.
Thunder?
Thunder. 雷. Yes.
If only we could redistribute all that extra rain from Japan to California. I mean, Lucy, I don't know where you are, but could you talk about what's going on?
It was 105 yesterday. It is fall. So that's been really bad. The heat here's been insane. Like a month ago, it was like 120. That was our high. And it was really, I don't know what that is in Celsius. I'm so sorry. But really bad. Really, really bad. And so there's been a bunch of fires. I've been lucky. The closest one was like 30 miles away. So not too close, but very smoky, bad air quality. And all that's been very much fueled by, climate change. And even like you were saying, the lightning, in Northern California, I'm in Southern California, there was lightning storms on top of really and it started a bunch of fires, really big fires. That was a really big issue and it's still an issue. They're still burning. So I feel like that's like a double whammy from climate change because you're getting those extreme high heats that are drying everything out, but you're also getting like the extreme weather, like lightning events. So not good.
There was a big issue about the mountain fire in Australia, but people, I guess, just forgetting about it. Because I just remembered. So, yes, not only the temperature, but environment itself is really affected.
America is screwing the rest of the world over right now.
It is. And I mean, especially with, climate change, it's not just like contained in one country. It's something that affects all countries. And so when one country fails to do its, fails to meet its goals, it really affects everyone. I feel bad for the countries, other countries who are really trying hard. And then there's us. Horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible.
Yeah, all the issues you guys have described, we have all of them. Like all of them. Like it'd be interesting if you guys like came to America, like how different the culture is. Like how we were talking about around food, like it's just so incredibly wasteful. And the system was built to be wasteful.
I just really wanted to go there. In 1 month, I used to be there. It was planned to be there, yes.
Our next goal is to raise enough money for Sen to come over to America. Or you can swim. Just swim. Come on. It's not that far.
That's a tough way, because I can't swim. Really.
We'll drag you behind a boat or something. We'll figure it out. You can walk over water. It can't be that hard.
Oh, walk.
Yeah,
You can
Paddle
walk.
over.
no carbon emissions.
So I guess we could figure out, we have all these issues. So what, kind of, if we want to take action collectively or do something together to maybe share our actions, that'd be cool.
So how do we require many people to this?
I mean, do you guys have like people maybe from the UN? Like when you guys went to Sweden or something, did you meet people who might be, maybe if they're interested, if they might be interested? That'd be cool. I don't know. Maybe if you want to invite them, because I think even just creating this space to share and exchange, culture, like our culture and how it pertains to global issues. I think that's really interesting and inspiring as well. So even if we don't have like a product or a thing to present, just exchanging ideas would be really great.
Yeah. Can I ask Dyson? I heard that you were doing some thing to reduce the plastic in the shops in Honolulu. So how did you did it? So you talked to many shops to reduce it?
So we actually did it through legislation. We also have like Sen, we have an old mayor. And depending on who you ask, he's either really crappy or really good. But what was helpful was that we have one of our council members who was anti environmental legislation. He got voted out, and the person who got voted in was someone who was pro environmental legislation. And so that gave us like a 5-4 majority of people who supported environmental legislation. And so once that other guy was elected, a guy named Councilmember Waters, we now had a majority in the council, and so we could introduce a bill to cut back on single-use plastics and actually have a shot at passing it. And it worked out. I think there was just the youth movement that got organized behind it, and all of the veterans, the older people who had laid the groundwork for it beforehand, put together, it just really helped to allow the bill to roll forward more quickly than any of us really expected. So yeah, it was a combination of good timing, the elections, and just like widespread community support. And also, like, we have been waiting for something like this to happen for 10 years. And so a fair amount of the council members were just like, you know, you've been, the industry, the plastics industry, you've been giving the same argument for 10 years, you know, and obviously those arguments are no longer relevant. And the industry just couldn't come up with a better argument.
How many people does this register?
Maybe I wasn't able to hear your voice, Tyson. Maybe your mic.
So how many people does join to the registration?
Wait, so I only heard how many people and then I lost you after that.
Oh, okay. How many people does join to the registration?
Like,
like take part in the legislation?
Yeah.
Easily thousands, because well, let's see, so our city council is actually really accessible, surprisingly. You can submit testimony online, and back then you had to testify in person, but if you couldn't make it in person, you could just submit your testimony in written form, and the council members would read every single one of them. And so I think the written testimony hit over 2,000 pages. The signature scroll, which is the effort that like Lucy, Solana, I think you might have been involved with it through HYCC. Okay, that might have been before you came to HYCC.
Yeah, I wasn't a part of HYCC yet.
Okay, so this is before Solana joined, but I know Lucy was a part of it, and there are some other youth who are part of it, and that signature scroll had 1,500 signatures, so 2,000 plus 1,500. That's at least 3,500 in just one hearing. This is throughout the span of one hearing. There were maybe 6 or 7 hearings. No, more than that, maybe like 8 or 9 hearings. So if you add it all together, there's some people who come back like multiple times. So if you put it all together, we probably hit 5,000 people.
That's great.
It's very rare. You usually do not hit that many people.
Taizan, where you like, is your government, you know, or like I'm not really sure about the Japanese government, but can people, you know, bring like testify and bring bills to the government, like especially youth? Is it accessible to youth or just to like citizens in general?
did you get what she said?
No.
Like, can people, like, you know, so if you wanted to reduce the plastic usage in shops, like, could you bring that up to, like, could you bring that up to the government, or is it like not accessible? Like, are you not able to do that just because of the structure of government?
It's okay. I have a connection with our minor in Chigasaki. And I have talked to sometimes, so I think he's noticing me, so maybe I can do this. Yeah, do it.
But like, I guess as a country government whole, it might be possible for us to have some proposal, but I don't think before it goes to the actual government, some other community might stop registering. So I guess it's a really rare case for us teenagers to actually have a proposal registered and being read by the like higher ranked people, politicians maybe. So That's why I thought it's a very big thing to pass the registration.
In general, it's really hard to access national governments like the Diet or the Congress here. They're usually, just because they're so far away from you sometimes. Like if you don't live in Tokyo, or in America's case, if you don't live in Washington, D.C., you pretty much have no access to that building. And also their decisions impact the entire nation. And so they're very hesitant to change. Usually the smaller levels, so like your mayors, your councils, they're usually more receptive. One, because it's a much smaller area, and usually the change happens in a smaller area first before spreading to larger areas. And two, just because the likelihood of you knowing them is higher, and it's easier to access them. And so usually that's been an easier place to start for change. And then once a bunch of different small, municipalities start doing it, then the national government pays attention, because now they need to figure out how to make it all cohesive.
Next are in my community.
Yeah, I guess it's just like, don't be afraid to start small, because that's usually the most meaningful place to start, I guess. That's just like a lesson learned.